Hello, the uneducated businessman here, talking about leadership again. And I've been talking recently about doing Zoom calls and interacting with people remotely, because that happens a lot, and it happens to me most days now. I very rarely travel for work. So because I'm doing this, I've noticed that there's benefits and there's negatives, and the negatives are keeping everyone together, keeping people feeling connected, and keeping people on the same page. And I can think of a really big problem for some. It's not a massive problem for me because I don't have people across different time zones. I don't have people working in different countries. But that's got to be a massive headache if you do have that. I'll be really interested as to know how you overcome that, because people in other countries, they, obviously the time zone thing is going to be huge. No one's going to want to get up early hours in the morning to have a meeting, or they may have to do it, but they're not going to be maybe as productive as they should be if that's what they've got to do. But it's more culture. Now, I was thinking about this before I was going to do the video, and I was going to say I don't have any experience in that, and I'm not the best person to talk about that, but I do have a very diverse workforce. I do have people from lots of different cultures. I guess the only difference is people have been here for quite some time, so they're kind of integrated into our culture here in the UK. So maybe my hurdle isn't as much as somebody who's got to keep a team member together when that team member's in a different country in a different time zone, has never experienced this kind of culture. So that's a challenge. I'd be interested to know how people navigate that challenge. But one way I do it with my current staff is I have regular check-ins. So I check in with them quite a lot, and that's on a very informal basis as well. It's not just me checking in for business. It's me checking in to see how they are, to see how they feel, to see how their life is, taking an interest in them, to get to know them even more. Because I always want to lead by example. I always want to show people that I'm caring, that I'm thinking of them, that I'm there to help. And when you do that, people resonate with it. And you've got to lead by example, because if you don't, people will pick up on their own ideas of how the culture should be, their own ideas of how they should be working, their own ideas of how the business should be going forward. And it's not always what you need as a leader. So you have to have regular check-ins. Don't just make your meetings business orientated. Consider doing these things. This is what I do. I do regular check-ins, but I have the one-to-ones. I have the one-to-ones with people where I chat informally and find out about them, and I share good news within my meetings. So if anything's happening, I talk to people about what's going on, so they're always informed. I encourage people to buddy up, and a trick I use with this is to get people who are office based to buddy up with people who are remote, because then you get an understanding of the different kinds of working environments. I've quite often found that people who work remotely find or can sometimes resent people who are in the office, and vice versa, because the remote workers think the office is this lovely ivory tower where no one does anything, and the office workers think everyone at home is just watching Netflix all day, and it can be quite resentful. So when you buddy people up from different areas, that can work really well. So that's a good tip. And another tip is have a little bit of fun. When you have these meetings, have time for fun. Have time for people to kick back and just chat and just let you know what's going on. Because when you can do that, and when you can bring a bit of humour in, people respond really well to it. We're not robots, we're not machines that are there to work. And it is hard, especially when you work from home, because there are a lot of distractions. It's really difficult to keep things going and keep in that zone all the time, and to have a little break with someone, especially with someone who you look up to as a manager and a leader, and have a little bit of fun with that person really bodes well. It really gets them on board and it keeps that team solid. So there's a few little tricks there I use. It's difficult, especially when people are working remotely, and especially when people are in different time zones, especially when people have different cultures. There's always things you've got to overcome. But regular check-ins, one-to-ones, bit of humour, bit of fun, let them know good news, let them know what's expected, lead from example. All those things will help you make that remote team and office team come together and be seen as a really good and strong leader. So I hope that was useful. Next up, I'm going to talk about, what am I going to talk about next up is how to create and discover a sense of community whilst working remotely. So how do you keep that community? And I'll be back with another video on that soon. Take care. Over and out.